I recently attended a networking event and was asked to share what we do and what is our why. You could see people started to fumble with an answer. A new dad whipped out his phone and showed a picture of his daughter and said, "This is my why." It was really interesting to see what happened after that. Every person that followed said their family was their why. I'm calling that out and want to talk today about why your why in your business may not be your family. And that's pushing the easy button and leaving an opportunity to connect. A few years ago, there was a popular video that entirely interrupted my world. It was the first time any idea came in from a different approach, and it flipped everything upside down so we could see clearly. Little did I know at the time that this would be what informed most of how I communicate. It ignited a way of thinking that opened up possibilities to question how we traditionally look at things. That video has been viewed more than 32 million times. The concept was called The Golden Circle by Simon Sinek. When the video came out near the end of the 2008 Great Recession, a lot of people were struggling financially. And this video, titled How Great Leaders Inspire Action or Start with Why, often gets quoted, but the thing that we need to remember the most is people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. Now, when I found out I'd been working in a highly competitive industry where the competition was offering a somewhat similar service for free, that meant our communications were critical. You had to be very clear about the value you offered. What we know is that when people vet their decisions, they start with their mind, but they make the final choice with their heart. This method of communication inspires people by first asking the question, why? Now, if you aren't familiar with the golden circle, imagine a target with 3 circles, one inside the other. The outer circle is the what. The second circle is the how, and the center circle is the why. Now, most people will communicate from the outside of the circle first. That's our elevator pitch. What do you do? It may tell how you do it, but we rarely ever communicate the why. We also have a very intimate knowledge of how we do something. It's our process, our system, our features of our product, how we do things differently than our competitor. It's how we're going to do what we do when we're operating in our zone of genius that can make your company one of a kind. But the thing I discovered and heard in that networking group is that very few people can tell you their why because they have not taken the time to think about it. Making money is not your why. Making money is a result of what you do. Your why is the driver behind what you do and why you care about it. Why does your company exist? Why do you get out of bed? Why should anyone care about what you do? The why is often the connecting point for us. It's often what we remember about a person. So I'll give you an example. I have a colleague who's a financial advisor, and you don't have to be in business very long to understand you can sneeze and find a financial advisor. But what makes her stand out is a story about her parents who didn't have enough money when they retired. They ran out of money. She saw them struggle in their final years instead of enjoying their life. And what she noticed is that many women in a couple situation left their financial planning to their husband. Now she works with widows and divorced women who don't know much about managing money. Don't you know this story makes her memorable? So you can see from a networking situation to ask people to give you their why is not something you can always do on the fly. Knowing your why is something I like to dig into when working with people. Whether I'm meeting you for a networking coffee or speaking to a potential guest for this podcast, the way to connect on a deeper level is to get to the question of why. Maybe you've never thought about it before. For many people, they know they want to make money, so they find a job they can do, they go to work, come home, get up and do it all over again. You're in a transactional relationship with your work. There's little connection. It's a social contract between you as a service provider and your employer, even if that employer is you. When you start talking about your business, there's no life in it. Sounds like you're reading the online product description. And if you want to connect with the right people, you have to get more authentic about why it is important to you. One of my mentors and friends is Mike Kim, who trained me in his You Are the Brand process from his Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling book, You Are the Brand. He uses what we call the PB3 framework with 3 questions to help you develop your point of view. I found this to be a very easy way to start reflecting and defining the answer of why do you do what you do. The first question is, what ticks you off? What is it about the service you provide or the problem you solve in the world that makes you more than a little bit angry? Number 2, what breaks your heart? What is it that you've witnessed or experienced yourself that just makes you really sad? Was it an injustice or someone couldn't advocate for themselves? And 3, what's the big problem you're trying to solve? How does your business help you alleviate the feelings of being ticked off and having your heart broken? Let's work through this as an example. I've got several lines of revenue in my business. First, I'm a messaging strategist and fractional CMO, helping businesses reposition themselves in the marketplace to find the right customers and close business. Marketing audits, roadmaps, and executing to get it done. Why I care about that? Because people waste too much on marketing that doesn't work for them. As a third-generation entrepreneur, I know how tough it is, and you want to do the right things for your business. You don't have money or time to waste on things that an expert can see doesn't work. Messaging is where it starts, and I happen to see things for what they are and can communicate it clearly. Second, I believe we each have value in the world, and we're created to bring that value to our work. One of the things that ticks me off is when companies treat their employees like they aren't people. They allow toxic environments to exist. They have a mission on the wall, but operate without values. We're no longer in an authoritarian age of do what I say and ignore that people have needs to be met and treated with respect and to be heard. This creates places where people don't want to work. And particularly when people don't want to work, it's usually they don't want to work for you. How can we flip that? How can we create places where people want to work? And that's why I partner with consultants who are trying to solve that problem for companies. I have a diagnostic they use to can help a company identify why their employee needs aren't being met, what they can do to address those broken systems, and maximize the value of what they're paying their employees. Now, instead of only getting a 30% ROI on the salaries we pay, we know what to do to get more commitment where everyone wins. The employee, your customers, and the company bottom line. And the third thing I do relates much to what this podcast is about. What ticks me off is when we spend our lives following someone else's script. We allow other people to write our story and then wonder why we wake up at 35 asking, is this all there is? Or 45, I'm successful, but there has to be more purpose to what I'm doing. Or even 55, where I know my time here is limited and I want to contribute more value. You know, the number one regret most people have at the end of their lives is they didn't have the courage to live the life they wanted, and instead they lived the life someone else told them they had to live. What breaks my heart is a story I haven't shared on this podcast before. I was one of the founders of a private school, and in the morning I would see children get out of their parents' car. There were times when sometimes I would see a child who got out who had been crying, or I knew that there had been some type of argument. And I knew what likely had happened because I'd seen those same conversations in person. Some parents would come in and want their children to be on a particular athletic team or the star of the play, the head cheerleader, or the leader of a club. They wanted them to get the top grade, even though they weren't even good in that subject. This would also happen sometimes when it came time for college. A student would pick out a major and a school, but maybe one of the parents didn't agree with it. They wanted them to major in business to make a lot of money and go where they went to school so they could go back and relive their days in the frat house. Sometimes I'd see this play out where the parent was coaching from the stands and their child was watching them versus listening to the coach. And if there was a bad game, the child would be publicly ridiculed by a parent. What I came to see clearly is this wasn't about the child. It was more about the woundedness of this particular parent who wanted to do a do-over, which is why I started my business, was to help healing come into the world. We all knew this. I know that the way to help children is by helping adults see that we don't have to find our purpose and meaning by living through other people. We can go back now and rediscover that our true identity is who we've always been versus who somebody told us we had to be. It's stopping the generational trauma by allowing our children to be who they are and live out their own story. instead of the one that we didn't get to do the first time around. This has led to a number of programs that I started with the Reimagine You quiz. You can discover which of the 4 paths are best to take that can cause you to reimagine a new and improved version of you. Next, we have the Reimagine workshop, 90 minutes to start defining how you can open up new possibilities. And Next Steps to the New You is a 75-day program to help you start manifesting your next level life. It's a fun program you do in a small group. We check in 1 time a week and you can be as visible or as invisible as you want. All the way, I'm coaching you to help uncover what holds you back and how to get out of your own way. My why for all of these segments in my business is I believe we find happiness not in a dollar sign, as we are told, but happiness finds us when we can contribute our value in a way that lights us up and we're working with ease and flow in our zone of genius. When we try to be someone we're not, things get hard. People are not attracted to you. When you try to live your life through someone else's filter or their business model, it can be terribly disappointing because it wasn't designed for you. When you're serving from a place of contribution, the money is attracted to you. And all of this to say is I challenge you to think about, why do you do what you do? If you're selling tires, is it because you love your family or because you believe in protecting people when they're driving a safe car? If you're selling software, is it because you have a new baby at home? Or is it because you've seen a much more impactful business that can happen when there are efficiencies created to connect systems that weren't previously possible? Do you love problem solving to make people's lives easier so they can bring more of what they do into the world, spend time with their families, and help them sleep at night? When you start talking about your company or business, knowing your why gets to the root of the situation. It's the cause underneath to look at why you are spending your time solving a problem for others. It not only helps us understand why you do what you do, it also makes you memorable. And isn't that what marketing is all about? Communicating from the inside out starts with your authenticity. If you don't know who you are, or you decide you're looking for a new path, reach out and start with that Reimagine You quiz. The link will be in the show notes. I have an upcoming Reimagine You workshop in just a few weeks, and the next cohort of the Next Steps to the New You starts soon thereafter. Thanks for being with me today. Take some time to consider your why. Share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it. And we'll see you here next week for another episode to help you discover your legendary self by exploring your passion, purpose, and personal brand.